Hi, and welcome to the Self-Publishing Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about building the right, W-R-I-G-H-T.
Oh, yeah.
Habits. We aren't really going to be saying the right habits, but that was a discussion early on whether it should be the right creative habits or I don't remember what we ended up saying. Creating and keeping ideal creative habits. But those are really the right habits, let's face it. The David Wright habits.
Yes, I'm all about the ideal.
We're not going to beat that joke into the ground, are we? This whole
I
episode.
should. Right. Well, it's already beat into the ground. It's already as far as it's going to go. Actually, the idea for this show, and we tinkered with the right positioning for it, actually came out
The
of
right
what I
positioning
thought-
or the right positioning?
The right positioning. What it came out. It sort of came out of an idea that I had for my something cool. So I'll go first again. I went first last week. I'll just monopolize it. I heard Sean interviewed Jonathan Fields for the 8 Questions podcast, which is a very good podcast. And, you know, the tagline for that is great artists steal is the tagline for that podcast, with the idea that you're going to listen to these, creative people and then you can steal their ideas for you. And that's totally what I did. So I've had this really scattered morning recently. And I come in and, I should save the details of this, but basically I decided to create a little morning routine based on a very similar to a routine that Jonathan describes that is just his thing. It's like his thing that he does every morning, and it's his little ritual. Routine isn't right. Ritual is better. And I thought I would like to try that. And so I tried it for the first time this morning. I sort of wrote some rules for myself. And so I got up and I read before I wrote. And I used to do that, but I stopped. And I thought, you know what, that might be kind of cool if I can find the time to do it. And I was screwing around so much before, procrastinating and checking this and checking that I said, no.
This is like really focused procrastination.
Well, right. If I take away the procrastination, I'm actually... and I replace it with this, it actually isn't a net loss at all. It's actually a net gain. It actually made me much
Dave
faster.
does something like that we could talk about when we get into the topic that I think is great.
Well, since my something cool is like a lot, I'll cover it in the topic. I'll just stop there, but so you guys can tell yours, but there's a lot more to that.
Well, go ahead, Dave.
Well, hold on. I'm trying to fix the YouTube comments because they're disabled yet again.
All right, so Sean, it's your turn then.
All right, so I just finished a book that I really, really liked. It's a nonfiction book, and it's called Sex at Dawn. And I'm actually going to...
Did you do this last week? I feel like this was your last week something.
No, I
cool.
just mentioned it.
Okay.
He's always talking about sex at dawn.
Yeah.
He's so used to arguing for it. That
I mentioned it. It's what I was reading at the time, but now I've actually finished it. And I'm actually going to make you an Asana task to read it, Johnny, with that other book list, because I think you'll really dig it.
Well, I have time now.
Yeah. And it's just a really good book. It debunks something they call the standard narrative, which is like the idea that we're designed to be monogamous, and I don't remember what I said about it before, but
there's all sorts of arguments latent in this discussion.
Yeah,
not supposed to be anonymous. Wait, no, hold on. I'll stop interrupting you now because I can't do it right.
So it's just a really interesting book. If you it's like the book that Dave talked about an hour ago or last week, depending on when you're listening to this. The brain book. It's like that. It's all about our behavior, but it's primarily sex based. But because humans think about sex so much, it's also just kind of brain-based, and it explains some of our behaviors. It explains some of the lies and the misconceptions and just kind of the myths surrounding the subject. And it's really interesting to me. So if you are interested in kind of what makes us tick as humans, it's a great book. So anyway, Sex at Dawn.
Dave, can I get a breaking news update on
I can't figure out a fucking way to fix this shit.
Dude,
so.
But that's the thing. You may not be able to. We just
right,
have to be sans comments until next week, because Google does stuff like this, and we recorded 2 shows back to back, so it's just something they're doing this afternoon.
Great.
Yeah, sorry everybody who's listening live. You can't comment. Send Dave tweets.
Yes.
I have been getting tweets. Now I know about it. All right. So what's the question? Do I have something cool? I don't have anything cool. My cool was blown on my last episode.
Oh,
All
you don't
right.
have two cool things in 1 week.
No, that's too many for 1 week for me.
What are you watching right now? How's Burnout going? Or
Burnout?
or whatever it's called. The one with the tattooed chick.
Blind Spot.
Blind
It
Spot.
got good. It got good. It started off rocky. It got good. I'm watching that. I'm watching Blacklist.
I'm still doing the math on you guys saying 1 hour of TV at night and you're getting through all the. I don't. It doesn't compute.
Okay, well I've got two.
There's 7 days in a week, and
Yeah.
we don't watch more than 7 shows, so it's pretty easy to figure out.
But I'm still watching Battlestar Galactica. Like I don't
you
even.
gotta watch
understand
something
how-
new.
No,
All right,
but that's my point. It's like I'm not through it
Well,
yet.
I've got two things. I also have time with the children because they're in an age where we're now watching stuff that we share. So like the Goldbergs, like I've been talking about the
Diary of a
Goldbergs,
Teenage Girl.
but I watch. Is that just a running joke now?
Yes.
Such a good joke too.
So I've been talking about the Goldbergs lately, or Veronica Mars, these shows, and that's been with the family. Like we all watch those. So there's the shows that we watch together, and then the shows that Cindy and I watch at nighttime. And Battlestar Galactica. So we ordered that from Netflix, and the first disc is very, very, very long wait. You know how they tell you the different waits, and it was like you'll get this in 2019. But we finally got disc 1, and we watched it last Saturday, and I don't think we're going to be watching it. Like the children just were not into it at all.
Oh wow, that's interesting to me. I would think Haley might be interested in, but I think you're dodging a bullet because that episode I warned you about is real rough.
Okay, well that's fine. Maybe it's not time, whatever. But they both fell asleep within like 40 minutes, and we're just like real meh on it. So I guess Battlestar later. I mean, there's plenty of stuff to watch. So
I think it took Robin a while to get up to speed on Battlestar Galactica too.
But yeah, it's. I mean, it does get very, very good. But if you don't have buy-in, like, there's just so much stuff they're more excited to see. I'm not going to say you have to watch Battlestar, right? So anyhow. All right. Well, then you want to just get right into the topic?
Yeah, let's break precedent. Hold on, let me check the recorder. 7 minutes. 7 minutes in. If we're gonna be on topic.
I feel like we can't get into the topic.
We have
No, let's break precedent. So the idea is, how did we put it? Creating and keeping ideal habits. So I gave the example of so basically I had created, just to follow up on mine, a bunch of kind of shitty habits. Like things got really.
Well, Kickstarter, right? You started.
We ran into. Well, yeah, but it was before that. Like we had a burnout period where we were, as Sean and I.
420 kind of burnout.
420 kind of burnout. By the way, I can't look at a clock and see 420 without thinking of a certain writing partner of mine. Just. So we had just had a period where I had a lot of stuff, and I think that I approached the burnout level. I approached the level where it's like, okay, if I don't have to write too much, it'd be nice, and. Yeah, so as Sean mentioned, the most recent project is one that I've really been looking forward to. It's called Devil May Care. It's this year's literary book, and we really wanted to take our time with it. But it's also really hard because it's a totally different sort of style and voice. And the first day I was supposed to work on it was the day that the Story Shop Kickstarter launched, and that was just not a good recipe for paying attention. But in addition to that, I just had developed a real procrastination habit. And so... Wait,
can I just insert there for a second? Like, with any habit, this didn't just start, right? This is habit creep.
Progressive.
And I think habit creep is something that everybody should, look out for. And habit creep is not a dude.
I was just going to say that's a website.
It's my
that I used
favorite
to really
Radiohead
song.
Yeah.
So habit creep is something that you start out by just doing this one little thing, and then like Steve Scott.
For me, it's checking email.
The habit stacking, right? I think habit stacking goes the wrong way too, right? Because the idea behind habit stacking is that you take one good habit and you put it next to another good habit, and you just kind of, compound those. And habit stacking the wrong way, like you do one bad thing and then you just make it worse, and you make it worse, and all of a sudden, Dave was talking about this on a Walking Dave also, about how, you don't get really overweight overnight. Like, that doesn't happen.
I listened to that one today.
It's like it's 1 pound at a time, and you don't realize it, and then it's years later, and you don't know how this happened to you. And I think bad habits are very much the same.
So, go ahead, Dave.
I'll go back to what I was saying in the first episode. or the one we just did. I'm reading and watching The Brain by David Eagleman, and they talk about how habits are formed, and how your brain, is really working against your unconscious is working against you a lot of times.
Just like the rest of the world.
Yes, it's all out to get you. But he does a demonstration where he's stacking cups, and he's got this kid that's like a champion cup stacker next to him, and they do a brain reading of both of these people. Like he's
How
trying
is
to
he
do
a
it.
champion? Do they have contests for this?
Yeah,
Like,
they do
globally?
actually. Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's
this kid is like
fascinating.
11 or something, and he's like just like insanely fast. So they showed the brainwaves of David while he's trying to do it, and like all these different neurons and stuff in various areas of the brain are firing as he's attempting to figure out how to do this thing fast. Although he can't even come close to what this kid does. And the kid, he's doing it, and it's like it's instant, and like only one part of his brain is lighting up. And basically, when you do things over and over and repeat them, instead of different areas of your brain firing off, they basically, create this one sort of switch. Like all these areas are now linked together, and each time you do something over and over and over again, it cements that sort of switch. It's like a shortcut basically.
Yeah, the
And
brain is lazy. It doesn't like extra work.
yeah, and it's insane, like how your bad habits, will like if you always sit down and have chips or something when you're writing, then you're gonna get fat because you're gonna associate writing with chips, and it's all very interesting. And it's interesting to me because I'm specifically trying to break many years of bad habits that I have.
And I've seen some positive habit stacking by listening to The Walking Dave. You talked to the one I was listening to today. You said when you get a craving, you take a walk, and then when you get back from the walk, you don't even really want.
No, I don't want to eat.
You don't want the food. Right?
Yeah, I'm not hungry, and I don't even want soda when I come back from a walk. I'm drinking water because like whenever I'm active, like the taste of soda just isn't good. Interestingly, like if I'm sitting around, the taste of water isn't good. It's really weird how it works.
Oh, that's really interesting to me because you had said that like I don't know many times over the years. I would say just drink water.
I don't like the taste of
And
it.
you're like, I don't like the taste, and now you're drinking a lot more water, which is so good for you. Like that's so much better than the soda. So
Interestingly, I was hurt. I was in a lot of pain after my walk 2 days ago, and I was talking to my brother-in-law who
your
is
ankles.
my ankles and my calves. I actually overdid it. I walked like 3 times in just probably almost 2 hours total.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
And
that's a lot.
I'm not ready for that. And I talked to my brother-in-law, who's actually, he runs marathons and stuff. Or not my brother, my wife's cousin, and he runs marathons. And I asked him for some advice because I just went out and bought these sneakers, and clearly they're wrong because I'm still hurting. And he's like,
Yeah,
you got to go to a
actually,
real shoe store, and they'll tell because you're like pronating and stuff, and you need actual real shoes. And
yeah, it's kind of painful to listen to The Walking Dead sometimes because I want
Walking
to.
Dave.
dead.
Yeah, sorry, The Walking Dead because I want to talk to you. Like I'm used to hearing your voice and being able to respond, and it's like you were talking about getting shoes, and I wanted to say, do you have walking shoes or regular shoes? Because I actually have walking shoes, like they're specifically for walking, and yeah, they're great.
And I have those pretentious shoes that Dave hates.
The toe shoes.
The toe shoes. And so like I like my walking shoes. I wear them out and then I go get new ones. And if you're walking a lot, you have to have the right kind of shoes and on that.
I have 3 specific shoe stores in town. One of them is a sporting goods store, which supposed to sell everything. They don't even go up to my size. I'm like 13.
What size shoe do you have?
13 and a half to 14. They don't go up that high.
Don't you remember the size of those boots when he drew that cartoon of him doing your mom?
That's funny because as soon as he said 3 shoe stores, I immediately got a picture of that in my head. So awesome, yeah.
But as far as the habits are concerned, I mean that's a good example. Like Dave is stacking his habits, and you just have slow improvements and slowly change the association. I read a book called The Power of Habit. I don't know if you guys have read it.
I've
Yes.
read that.
It was very good, and basically one of the key things you need to keep in mind is that you can't get rid of a bad habit. You have to replace it with something else. When you do something that is destructive, you're doing it for a reason, and if you don't give your your brain or your body or whatever it is that a suitable replacement, then the habit isn't going to stick.
Well,
because
it's like
your
addiction,
need isn't
right?
being
You
met.
can't just say, I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to be addicted to this thing anymore. You can replace the addiction. And habits are like tiny addictions for the brain, right? Like, I do this, I do this, I do this because really,
Well,
what is a habit other than automaticity?
well, okay. In the book The Brain, they talk about how your subconscious, like when you go to a store and you're gonna like go buy something, your subconscious is at war. There's different parts of your brain that are like weighing in on, okay, like, do I want mint ice cream or do I want chocolate ice cream?
Mint.
And there you have subconscious like recall of like times that you had chocolate ice cream, times you had mint ice cream, in the recollections, in associations that you have with those. And all of those come into play when making a choice. And really, they almost make a point in the TV show and the book that you almost have no choice in what you're actually doing. Free will is almost out the window because your brain is really controlling what you're doing, and it's very difficult to like go against that.
So in my case, with that, what I had previously, the bad habits that had slowly crept into my life. So several times I've created like a dedicated email checking time. I actually, back in my Johnny 1.0 days, I wrote a blog post about it, and just about the idea of trying for 30 days to only check email once a day. Which seems like simple, like, wow, you poor deprived person, only going to check email once a day.
That's hard.
Like,
I
first
wanted
world
to do that a
problems.
million times. I cannot do that.
But if for me, if I just declare it, then I have to make a rule. Actually, in many ways, I've discovered recently that the more I make rules for myself that are usually restrictive in some way, the happier I am. And this is one of them. Like, I decree no checking email, and that's usually enough. But it creeps back into my life, and I find myself checking it, and that is an addiction. There's supposedly an actual little dopamine hit you get, and it's like a brain addiction. And so
Reward.
it's a reward, and you're thinking there's going to be something good in there, and it's a distraction. And so I used to say that I wanted to be writing by 6:15 in the morning. I wake up at 6, and then it kind of stretched to 6:30, and that was fine. And then by the time I was noticing this, and I heard that podcast episode, it was past 7. Like it just was. I was fucking around too much, or I'd open the Scrivener document that I was working on, and I'd try to work it out, and it was really hard, and then I'd go check something else again because that was easier. And so what I realized is, if I just number one, I needed to improve whatever was sticking me. If I could improve that, then great. And number two, I would just have the time anyway, that I could probably be better once I was going. But it was also an issue of flow, because one of the things that happens when you check repeatedly, the best example of this for me is, by the time you hear this, I think the Story Shop Kickstarter might be over, but it's still going now, and it's been going.
Live.
Yeah, and so what happens is, and the Kickstarter did well right from the start. And so, but it can start to feel like a failure because you check it so often that nothing changes.
Yeah.
And Sean and I have talked about this. So, like
it's best to just ignore it.
To just ignore it. But the weird thing is, like, literally, I would check it 5 minutes apart because I'm trying to procrastinate. There's only so many things I can cycle through, and in the span of 5 minutes, the total wouldn't change, and it feels like deep down, it feels like, oh well, something bad happened. Because money didn't come in 5 minutes, which, what the fuck? So I said I need a better mentality. It wasn't just about reading or creating this ritual. I needed, like, it would make me feel better to not check stuff. And so I did. I'll abandon the mic here in a second, but I just want to give you the results. I did this morning, only this morning. I woke up at 6. I got my coffee together. I checked things really, really briefly. Like, I sat down. I have a bunch of tabs in Chrome that I just check. I didn't languish on any of them, and I wasn't allowed to check any of them more than once. And Jonathan Fields said that he did a little meditation or mindfulness thing. I literally spent 5 minutes just sort of focusing on my breath. 5 minutes.
Does Jonathan have the most calming voice for you too, or is it just me?
He's pretty calming. And then after that, I sat down and I said I can read until 7. And I'm reading The Girl with All the Gifts, Dave.
Oh, I was just going to
yeah.
ask, was it fiction or nonfiction?
And oh my God, I don't get uninterrupted reading time. So 45 minutes of reading time felt like 6 hours. It was like the most time I've ever had.
I don't know what to do with myself.
Did you find that you read faster than you normally do too?
No, I think I read at a normal pace, but usually I'm allowing myself to be distracted. I'll have my phone by me when I read, so I'm even breaking up my reading. Oh, let me check that again.
Oh, that's terrible.
So I did none of that. None of that. And then, okay, so here's the final result. So 7 o'clock comes around. I hear Robin waking up, and I went in and I said hi, and then I sat down to write, and I said, okay, now that it's after 7, I now have a limited period of time. I'm going to set a clock, and I got to get it done. I got to get it done. I gave myself 4 hours, which is I'd been going until 1 in the afternoon recently, not quite that far. And I'll be damned if it wasn't the best writing session I've had in weeks.
Oh,
Because I took that time, it made my flow and my mentality and my not feeling like everything was shitty, took it away. It was great.
But see, there's a really good lesson in there too. Unless we need to have like a little other conversation first before I talk about the lesson.
Well, now we can't because you drew attention to it. Thanks, Vaughn.
All right. Well,
Go ahead and say some other stuff.
Some other stuff. No.
What's the really good lesson in there?
Well,
Hey, Dave, what would you do if you needed to get a good book cover?
Well, in the old days, I did covers myself, and some of them were good, some of them not so good.
Was that a bad habit?
It was a bad habit. It was. And then I realized I'm not a professional designer, and where do you go? I mean,
you go to Designers, Non-Professional Designers Anonymous. They have a 12-step program that you just admit it to everybody.
Yes, exactly.
And then we'll get back to Sean's comment.
No, if you're looking for a book designer, and if you're listening to this show, you probably are in the market for a book cover designer, unless you want a bad book cover, or you have your own designer you're happy with.
That's a bad habit to get into.
Yeah, but if you're doing it yourself and you're not a designer, it probably shows, and it's probably hurting your book sales. And you want a quality good book cover, and fortunately, our sponsor 99 Designs has a ton of great book cover designers waiting.
That's so fortunate.
Yeah, they do. They have them. There's rumors that they do ayahuasca to tap into a higher consciousness, and
They don't do it. They're just that much more connected. But if you do ayahuasca, then you can deliver your order that way.
Yes, you can, and a very creative order, I might add. But yeah, they have a ton of designers that that just we've had so many people email us and say we your ad reads are stupid and silly, but we figured we'll try it anyway.
It's like a jingle, an annoying jingle that gets stuck in your head and you hate it, but damn it if you don't remember.
Yeah, and they're happy with their book covers. Their book sales are increasing, and you want a quality book cover. You want a book cover that looks like it belongs in a bookstore. If you have one that you made yourself, it probably looks like it belongs, I don't know, in the trash maybe? I don't know.
Dave, what would a really, really annoying jingle to go with our ad read sound like, do you think?
If you want a cover today, I don't know.
It's time to work on it. Well, but that's for next week. That's your
yeah.
assignment. All right. So start your custom design today at 99designs.com/SPP, because you don't want to be one of those people that everybody's laughing at. And let's face it, everybody's laughing at a lot of people, and you don't want to be one of those people. Don't get in that habit. So you go to the link 99 Designs.
Because you know what happens when people laugh at you? You become resentful, and then you climb in a tower and you start shooting people. And the world doesn't really need that.
And that's what I like about 99 Designs.
They've saved so many lives.
Can I just recap here? So you, if you don't use 99 Designs, you'll probably go into a tower.
You could.
Well, I'm not going to say for sure, but let's say the chances are increased.
99designs.com/SPP if you want to save lives.
And you will get the free Power Pack upgrade. It just is an aside. It gets you more designer time and attention, and you'll keep yourself out of a belfry with a rifle. So that's good. So there you go. Probably
interesting. I want to go back to that. I want to go back to the guy that climbed Texas State University that shot all those people in the 60s.
He didn't use 99 Designs. Actually, that's true. He didn't use 99 Designs.
And I don't think it's a coincidence. No.
Do you think that's the first time that they've talked about anybody's talked about sniping in one of their ads? If we get
Probably.
stats on how our ads
So
perform versus others,
can we just cover this? It's been suicide, sniping, and ayahuasca. Are we gonna go with molestation next? Like, are we? Gonna...
No,
No,
God,
no, no.
Sean! Good Lord, cut him off.
Well, I'm just saying, like, how bad are we gonna make these? They're
Hey,
terrible.
you're not allowed
ayahuasca
to
isn't
talk.
bad. Ayahuasca is medicine.
His mind
That's from the earth.
expanding.
It's
Yes,
right. You
but
need
it's
a
illegal.
shaman for that shit.
Administered by a shaman. No,
It's still illegal.
the
It's
guy
only illegal because of the government machine man.
yeah, the man doesn't want you to be enlightened.
Can I hear
because
from
then you might
Ayahuasca
vote your
Joe?
interests. Okay, so the guy that went up in the tower, when before he did this, he killed his wife and his mother-in-law the day before, or earlier that day or the day before, and then he died. And when they went to his house, they found a note, and he said he'd been having like all these like dark thoughts, and it wasn't like him. He wasn't like that, and he asked that they look at his body to make sure something wasn't wrong, and they found that there was a tumor in his brain that was right near the part of the brain which controls like aggression and fear. And they feel that is what happened. That tumor made him like just become a sniper and kill people. He was in the military, he knew how to use guns already. But that tumor, they feel, is what caused this like normally happy guy to just go on a shooting range.
Oh well, that's it. I want no more cancer. I am behind it. Officially, I'm willing to take a stand. Cure for cancer if that sort of bullshit's happening.
Otherwise, you were fine with cancer.
Right, but no more. I'm not putting up with it anymore. All right, so Sean, what were you saying about the habits, lessons, blah blah blah?
Yeah, so I was saying that's something instructive there, because I think a lot of times your tendency is just to, and I mean your, meaning mine and just a lot of people's, is to plow through something, right? Like, okay, I have this mountain of work, I'm just gonna get it done. So you're having a harder and harder time writing in the mornings. Maybe you think, well, I've just gotta plow through it, or I have to wake up earlier, or whatever. And
that's what I did. I sat here and stared at the screen, and I got to get this done.
Yeah, and sometimes that's just really ineffective, and it makes much more sense to just kind of take a step back and go away. So I always have too much to do, right? And sometimes when I'm really tired and I'm thinking I have to force myself through this, and I've been very good about taking my walks. And the old me would have been, like more than a year ago, I'd say, I would have said, I can't afford to take walks during the day. I can't. I have so much to do. How could I possibly spend time just walking? Like that's really dumb, because that's time I could spend at the desk getting more stuff done. But I do monitor my work, and I monitor how much I get done, and it's a fact on days when I don't get to walk. I get less done, and it's because I'm slower. By taking those breaks, or by establishing good little routines and good little habits, it's just way easier to be focused and be present, on the actual work you're trying to do, instead of just, I'm gonna muscle through this, I will work harder. I think it's smarter to step away sometimes, or create like a little safe haven of habits, like Johnny's talking about for the morning. He said, okay, well, I did this, and then I actually started my work, and I was way more effective.
Now, one of the hardest things for me is, I've been bouncing back and forth between day and night, being up in the day, being up at night, and I go on a day's schedule, then my son would be home from school sick or something, and that would just throw me off, because then I'd have to play catch up and stuff. And that has been always, very difficult. Now I've been on a day routine for almost the whole month now, and I feel like I'm getting better. And one of the things, though, is that it's difficult when you have children at home to do that, especially younger children. They just don't understand the concept of I need to work now, so you gotta leave me alone, because they just know that their parent is there, and they don't understand, why aren't you playing with me? So what I've recently done, and this is actually on Sean's advice, I recently, with my son, like on the weekend and stuff, he's like pretty much up my butt the whole day. So what I've done is
Should I play the "What's Up, Dave's Butt"?
I was just gonna wonder.
so what I've done is like I instead of having him just come and knock on my door and whine outside the door, what I've done
Come
is
on, knock on my door.
yeah, we've been waiting for you. So what I've done is I say, okay, listen, I will play with you, right? Like I'll play with them like right away, and they'll say, okay, I'll play with you again like at 11:30 or something. But I need an hour and a half or something. I need to write. I need to get some work done. And I found it's a little bit easier, and he can respect the clock like that, and that's pretty good.
What? He can do what?
Respect the clock.
Respect the clock. And because we're on a roll.
What's up, Dave's butt? Oh! What's up, Dave's butt?
And I found that like if he starts to like bother me, like Dad, there's an alligator in the house or something. I don't know. No,
That's your example.
There may be a story there.
there's a bear outside. No, but if he like starts like coming, like what he used to do is like, is it time yet? Like he just come back like every 5 minutes. And so what I do now is I say, okay, now if you interrupt me before the time, I'm adding 5 minutes to the time. So
I do that.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I do that. Yeah, I do that.
When we first had our son though, and I was home, it was very difficult. And one of the things that I found a little helpful, and I think this could be useful for new parents, especially, is to basically barter time. Like if you and your spouse, like you have your whether they're a writer or they just want to do something else, like maybe they just want some time to read or just be alone, maybe go shopping with themselves, whatever they want, give them some time, barter time. Say, listen, I need an hour to write my book. So how about I'll do this for you. I'll give you time to go out with your friends or whatever. You give me this time. Barter friends, because when your kid is young and both of you, especially when both of you work, it's very difficult. Because you both feel like very put upon by all these obligations that you have, and you feel selfish almost to want to do something for yourself like writing, because you're taking time away from the family, you're taking time away from the kid. It's just very difficult to get time alone to think, and I think bartering time is one of those things that can help.
Dave, I think you're a really good example of this right now because, and just all jokes aside, because of the changes that you've made recently. And I know that if anybody wants to go listen to Walking Dave episode 2, like you'll hear Dave's motivation. But aside from that first real moment, you've made a lot of changes. Like you're walking a lot. I don't know if you're still standing.
So much
that
you're hurting yourself.
Right. I don't know.
I'm not standing until I get a standing desk, because that thing I was doing, it's just too hard to move the monitor, and I just know I'm gonna friggin' drop it. So it's just a pain in the ass.
So, but you stopped doing caffeinated drinks. You're drinking more water.
Yes.
Your
Day
schedule.
Yeah.
There's I know that you were talking about your the one I just listened to recently, like you're eating better, and then you had a bad meal and you felt it.
Yeah.
And so I'm just wondering, have these stacked?
Oh, that's right. I'd love that.
Semi-automatically for you, because that's something that I've found is if I do something that's a good habit, the next one I don't even have to think about the next one; it just kind of seems automatic.
Well, your success really does breed momentum with habits too, right? That's working. I'm going to do another one.
It is easier because I'm conscious of my decisions a lot more. Like when I had breakfast yesterday, I didn't eat all my breakfast. I think nighttime's still a little tough for me. Like I'll still eat. Like I'll want a dessert and I'll eat something, and then it's hard. It's hard not to eat something else. It's very difficult, and I'm not there yet where the willpower is easy for me. And so far, I've only lost 5 pounds. I feel like I should have lost more, but it is.
No,
you probably
5 pounds, right?
Well, it's a month. I feel like I should have lost a whole lot more. Especially.
Well, but regardless, there's changes you aren't able to see. Like, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
not
you're
just,
changing on a cellular level, dude. And
I'm
besides,
becoming something else.
you know,
Something.
you said it's a month. That's more than a pound a week. That's safe. You don't want to lose a bunch of weight immediately. You want it's safe and sustainable.
Yeah, it's hard because like I've lost 5 pounds before and it just was nothing.
Yes, but that's bullshit. Like what you're doing now is changing yourself, and that's way more important. And dude, just stay on this exact track. That's 50 pounds a year, and it'll be more than that. But
and one of the interesting things I found, and this is probably dangerous, I don't know. Like I like going to the brink of being very, very hungry. Like I have a clarity of mind that I never had before.
See, but Johnny's been telling you to do this for years. Use your OCD for good, not evil.
Well,
right?
like when I was driving the other day, there was like this thing that I just caught the corner of my eye. It was a leaf, and it was just like floating down towards my window as I'm driving, and like it felt like everything slowed down, and I was able to pay attention to this leaf and the car at the same time.
Matrix, you guys.
Yeah, it was like limitless, man, and I just felt like so much in the zone. But the danger there is when I don't eat for like a lengthy period of time, like if I don't eat breakfast for like 3 or 4 hours or something like.
Well, then you can overeat when it's time.
Well, two things happen. I get that clarity turns to grumpiness very quick. It's like on a dime. It's like whoo, all of a sudden I'm angry.
Yeah, I can very easily imagine this.
and then I might overeat if I'm not careful. So.
But what I like about this
clarity of mind that I've never felt in the past several years.
What I like is that this comes down to acuity and knowing yourself, is that you are noticing more. And I think that for anybody looking to establish new habits or change bad habits, I think that the first step is awareness, because you get numb to it. It's very easy to just go on autopilot. And I was talking to my kids about this the other day. It's like there's a weird mindfulness where actually your food example is a great one. The fact that you notice that you had this meal that maybe you shouldn't have had, or you had too much, and then you felt bad, that's the sort of thing that might have been absorbed before, and you wouldn't necessarily have known it. And with me, the procrastination stuff, like I guess intellectually I knew that I was wasting an hour and a half of my writing time every day, and I might as well have just slept in. But you go on autopilot. Like, this is what I do in the morning, and the first step seems to be, what do I want out of life or whatever, and am I going away from it with these habits? And it's amazing how many people don't even stop and think, oh, I do this, I get that, I don't like that. Not that it's always that easy to change, but you have to have that first step.
Yeah, I think awareness is a huge thing, because a lot of people, they don't really want to face their truths either, and I think you have to. If you can't be honest with yourself, and something I've always admired about Dave is he is honest with himself, and
routines are comfortable though.
It's funny because I think one of the first times I realized this about Dave, he was telling me
I shit myself on the way to work.
No, but
really.
No, it was I don't know, there was somebody that he was hating on, and he's like, I hate that fat fuck. And I said, but dude, you're fat. Like, why would you say that? And he said, I hate myself.
Yeah.
I don't mean to make this isn't like a food and dieting show, but just some of the most
yes, but those are the biggest examples, right? Like
right. But this would apply to writing and stuff too. And my favorite example was, and I know you liked this, Sean. So I'll just give this example and I told my kids this one too, is the actions that you're taking, are they worth it? So again, this is a food example, and there's this really great donut place in Austin called Gordo's, and it's right across the street from where we're actually going to have the Smarter Artist Summit in March, in late March.
Great. Perfect.
But they make the donut on the spot. They don't have a rack like this.
Yeah, the size of your head.
Yeah, they're made one at a time, and they're salad plate sized.
It's amazing, and they have all these. I mean, it's just astonishing stuff. And my kids thought they were okay, they were good, but they like those Hostess donuts, like those little shitty ones that come in the bag. And my philosophy is on something like that. Like, I don't want to be eating any donuts because, in addition to everything else, I'm a diabetic. So it's not like I have a weight problem, but I have an everything else problem. You know what I mean? Like that, I can't sleep then, and it'll affect my health. And so, but I will eat a Gordo's donut because it's worth it. Like I'm not going to have them all the time. Like, that's a good fucking donut. I am not going to waste donut time on those shitty little ones. And that's a perfect example. Like, if I'm going to lose writing time, I'll lose it for a cool thing that I'm doing, or I'm going somewhere with my family, or I'd lose it for sex. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to lose it for checking email. Like, what the fuck? That's the worst waste. I'm losing something, and I'm doing it for this stupid reason. And I think that weighing that can really kind of knock you around.
Yeah, and it really is knowing yourself, because if you know yourself and you're honest, like, I mean, Dave and I have talked about this forever. Like, I know myself, so I build fences, right? Like, I know what I'm going to be good at, what I'm going to be bad at. So I went to dinner twice this week, 2 different times. I mean, I had dinner every night. There were 2 different nights where I went out to meet somebody and had dinner that had been on my calendar for a long time. And the first night, I was pretty smart. Like, I knew that I was going to go out to a place where, like, the menu's fantastic and there's so many choices and it's so easy to overeat when there's delicious things right in front of you.
McDonald's.
Right? And so before I left,
there's an example of something I probably wouldn't choose as worthy.
Yes, never, ever, ever. So before I'm gonna leave, I had a couple of handfuls of nuts, you know, like right before I go, because, you know, those are gonna fill me up, and I had a little bit of fruit, and so I wasn't going to the restaurant totally starving, because that makes a big difference. If I'm super hungry and I'm looking at a menu, like, I'm not going to make intelligent decisions. It's like what Dave was saying at the beginning of the hour, you know, so free will is a joke. Like, you have to stack the deck in your favor, because if you're really hungry, and it's also to what Dave said about, like, if I take myself to the brink of starvation, then, you know, I'm going to have a problem when I'm actually making a decision about what should I be putting in my body right now. So on Monday night, I was great. You know, like, I ate a little bit, just enough to curb my hunger, so I wasn't starving when I was looking at the menu. On last night, I went to dinner again, and I didn't do that, and I ate terribly. Like, I ordered double appetizers, and, like, it was just a monster. And then I came home, and I was all, ugh. But those
and
are.
You know in advance you're gonna feel like shit.
I know while I
am
doing it. Yeah. I know when I'm telling the waitress my order that I'm going to regret it, and I've got the self-hate going on, and so but that happens.
I watched Sean do this in Denver with a banana split or some shit like that.
It was a milkshake. It was a milkshake at midnight, and I'm like, this is so stupid. And then I was, like, in pain trying to go to sleep. Like, it was so dumb, and so. But we all do that with our creative stuff all the time. Like, we know that we're going down the wrong road, and then we go down it anyway. And if you know what your offenses are, just stay behind them. Don't think that you're going to be. Try to outsmart it. Don't try to be stronger than it. You know, if there's a giant boulder and you have to get it up a hill, you know, you may not be able to push it up the hill with all your might, but maybe you could, you know, build a lever and get it up that way. You know, you can outsmart your habits, but I don't think you can muscle them through brute force, which is, I think, what a lot of people do. So you decide on your habits, you know, and start small too. I think that's another big thing, and we've talked about this before.
Yeah, because then you have some success.
Right.
And some control.
Like, and let's use Dave as an example again too. Dave's not saying I'm going to lose 50 pounds this month and, you know, I'm going to go to the gym every day. Like, he's starting out with pretty small goals, but they're manageable. I'm going to walk a couple times a day. Like,
I would love to walk like 4 hours a day and work 4 hours a day.
No, you can't. Like,
well, eventually.
Yes, eventually, of course. But if you set out there, and you've done this before, right, where you put out these goals that you can't possibly hit.
Oh, yeah.
And then so you get very frustrated very early on. And creatively, it's the same thing. People say, you know, I want to write 3,000 words a day, and I'm just going to get in the habit of writing 3,000 words a day. Well, you can't get in the habit of writing 3,000 words a day if you're at 200 now. you can get in the habit of
Because
writing
you have
300.
to use so much willpower and just brute force to get through the 30 days they say it takes to make a habit.
Yeah, because willpower is finite, and your decisions get worse through the day as you bleed
That's
through.
something else they talked about in the book.
Yeah, you can willpower through 200 words a day if you write nothing right now. The willpower is finite thing is I've noticed that. I don't know, like it must be. I'm almost 40. I must be becoming more self-aware as I go on because that's something I've really noticed is the willpower is finite thing. So I don't actually have a problem with food normally, but I make really bad food decisions if I've had a hard day. It's the stupidest thing.
Yeah,
like,
I do
it's
too.
not because I'm more hungry. It's that it was a really hard day, and I've been resisting stuff all day long. I put in my writing time. Damn it, I did a bunch of other stuff. I was really productive, and then I feel like okay, that's it. I have nothing left.
Well, what they talked about on this in the book, and they will talk about on the show, I think in the next episode actually, is the whole willpower thing and how your brain is basically you are forced to be the executive decider in the decisions that your unconscious is asking, like you're trying to decide between two different things, or you're trying to do the right thing, and you basically have to kind of push yourself through it, and that does require willpower, and the more you do that during the day, by the end of the day the things that you do are just hard. They actually had a study where they talked about people that were on they were up for parole hearings, and this is interesting. People that were up for parole hearings that came early in the morning, they were kind of up and down whether they got parole. Around right after lunch, they were most likely to get parole because everybody's willpower reserves, were fine because they just ate and they were re-energized. But at the end of the day, people up for parole was down to like 8%. All right.
Yeah, that's interesting. There was something I was going to say, and I totally forgot what it was. I may have been distracted in some way.
Because I take responsibility for that.
But it is a lot about knowing yourself, because the wrong thing to think would be that my brother Ayahuasca Joe does things this way, and therefore I need to do things this way. It's so, for instance, with me, I gave the example of if I make rules for myself, then I follow them. Like that's it. So I don't miss writing deadlines. I don't. I do this the way I do intermittent fasting. So I normally don't eat until 6 p.m. I don't eat all day long, but that's just how I'm wired, and it's absolutely not right for everybody. Because if I make a rule,
wait,
then
you do that every day?
Yeah, with the exception of Wednesdays, because I go to Chipotle with my kids.
You fast every day until 6 p.m. except Wednesday?
Yes.
Oh my God.
But it's just how it is now. But that's how it is for me, because that's how I'm wired. I'm either on or off, and I know that about myself. I've learned that about myself. But I need to make the rule. It's the stupidest thing. I would do things like if I just with the morning ritual is a good example. Okay, so I will start writing by 7:15, and I will not check my shit until 11 or something like that. If I make that rule, it's just me making the rule. It's just me committing to myself and not telling anybody. I will follow it. But if I'm sloppy about it and I don't actually think it or write it down, then I won't. I'll be like, well, I'm going to check.
Yeah, writing down is kind of powerful too, even if you're the only one who sees it because you're committing. But I want to say something about the willpower thing because that's a big deal. If you know, we've all established it's a fact that willpower is finite, then a lot of people will get little niggling stuff that doesn't really matter. They'll just knock it out because it makes them feel like they're actually successful. Like, okay, I did this and this and this and this. I checked Twitter. I did whatever. But
who's ever put something in Asana specifically so they could check it off? They just finished it, so you got to add it in so you can check it off.
I've done that. Okay, and it's stupid. But what you really want to do is take your priorities and get them done first. Like that. If you could do one creative habit, I think probably that's more important than any other creative habit to just do, and do it with automaticity and never flinch or think about it. It's starting with your most important tasks first, right? So, Johnny gets his writing done early in the day. Now it's 7 o'clock, but it's still before
the reason that I put reading before is because it's not more important. Like if I read and didn't write,
But it
that
makes
doesn't
that
count.
task easier.
It makes right. It compounds the task. It's a facilitator to the writing. At least
Right,
so far, at
but
least
that's
today.
lubricant. What I'm saying is you wouldn't put you know,
I wouldn't watch TV. Well, unless it was really great television, I suppose. But we're creators, and I know that I need to feed myself. Like I need to read if I'm going to be a good writer, and I get that, and I try to make time to read. And I used to do this. I remember I was reading Ready Player One before I was writing stuff. I just distinctly remember sitting out there in the morning, and it was quiet, and I loved it. But I fell out of the habit. But I know that I need that. It's
right,
something
but I don't
need to
even
make
mean
time
like
for.
I don't even mean like writing or watching TV. I mean something like getting admin tasks because they have to be done.
Right.
But if you put them before you're writing, you know that's dangerous. That's a dangerous habit to get into. And I just one more thing, and I know we need to wrap up. But I think that an accountability partner is something that really, really helps. You know, we have a really good infrastructure.
I think
three of
Dave's
us.
accountability partner is the walking Dave.
I do.
I think that's a good thing.
I totally agree. I've noticed a change in Dave. I think Walking Dave is a lot of it. I think our infrastructure between the three of us, where we're very direct and honest with each other. You know, we can vent where we need to vent. We confess when we need to confess. Oh man, you know, like I said yesterday, I slacked you guys when I came home. I had a bad day. I overate, right? Because I did. I was all mad at myself. You know, I'm very direct with Cindy, and we're direct with each other. So she's another accountability partner for me, and somebody that you can just be direct with, and so you're kind of checking in with them too. I think could be something very helpful. But the bottom line is, if you have creative habits that you're trying to start, just start small and stay consistent.
All right. So in conclusion, I would just say I think we all liked Steve Scott's, or is it under S.J. Scott? We liked his book Habit Stacking. I pimped the Power of Habit, which I thought was very good. And Dave, the book and show, is it just called The Brain?
The Brain by David Eagleman. Great show and book.
And actually, Sean's was similar to that too. Was it called Sex in the Morning?
Sex at Dawn, and it actually talks about intermittent fasting a little bit in there too. No, but it could be. It's actually it's not salacious at all.
Okay.
All right. So thanks for listening to the Self Publishing Podcast. Get your habits in order. I'm trying, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.